Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. That's right, we're back, and the song is back. The countdown is back for another week of the greatest podcast in sports. Today, joined as I am by each and every week by co-host Calvin Thomas, Justin B. A. the Barber Harris. Gentlemen, how y'all doing tonight?
You look good. You look good.
It's all good, man.
So, no.
What's happening with you new? Everything good with y'all? Y'all in?
Y'all, man? Another
hey,
day.
Calvin, I saw you posted this morning. God is good. Is everything good on your side of town?
Yeah. We discussed that offline. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, God is great. That's what I like to hear. Justin, is God great on your side too? Thank you.
Unless you're the unchosen few.
I heard that. Let's get into it. March Madness is upon us, and we're going to be talking about that in great detail tonight. Man, wow. Opening weekend. Look, traditionally March Madness is all about the upsets, the Cinderellas, the big shot buzzer beaters that take the team over the hump at the end, the team that nobody saw coming, going on a run. Well, through two rounds, I don't think we have many Cinderellas left. I think we had a couple games here and there that maybe some upsets, but some upsets that people saw coming. And we're going to talk about it in detail. Let's start in the bracket that I called last week. I said it. I said this bracket would be the one to keep your eye on. It would probably present the most competitive matchups, the favorable teams. I think they caught a bad draw if you got all stuck in this bracket, because we're going to talk about this for a little while. And that has to be what we saw out in the West. The West is deep, folks. I know you're going to blow this up as best I can. And we saw Florida advance, which was chalk. And then that big matchup they had with UConn, man. That game right there, that was one. You had the two-time defending national champions trying to go back once again to do something that hasn't been done since John Wooden and back in the day with UCLA. When Hurley he thought a bad call at the end of the game stopped his team from trying to move on to try to go defend their title once again. But I thought Florida and UConn was one of the best games of the weekend. Calvin, did you see it? What was your thoughts?
So I caught the end of it. I did have Florida, winning that game, but I don't understand some of those calls late, some of those questionable calls on that went Florida's way. I'm not upset at them winning because I had them in my bracket. However, I do think UConn had some gripes at the end, but you can't go out like that just in regards to the coach and his press conference late. But because you are two-time defending champions, you have been running college basketball the last 2 years. You got to go out a little bit better, in my opinion, just in regards to you didn't have the most talented team this year. You weren't expected to do big things, but I did think UConn should have won that ball game. Now, I'm not upset, like I said, because I had them in Florida in my bracket, but UConn did catch the wrong end of them calls that ultimately cost them the game, in my opinion.
Justin, what would you think about what went down too? That was probably the biggest matchup, I think, one person for person, because you had the defending two-time champion going up against the number one overall seed. What's your thoughts?
Well, I like I said last week, I wasn't 100% sold on Florida, and I was almost right. It was that close. Questionable calls nonetheless, but at the end of the day, they made it through. But this bracket, like you were saying, this West region is definitely the most entertaining from top to bottom, really.
Yeah.
I was really, really looking towards I know we're going to talk about MD later, but Arkansas, led by Coach Cal, I mean, he was pretty much written off. No one thought that he had a real shot. And his team's play up until this point was very suspect at best. But they managed to get it together, and they went to St. John, or played St. John's, and Rick Pitino and all the issues that he has, he kicked his ass up out of here. So I was very as I like to see coaches, like college is about coaching a lot, real heavy. And just the fact that these two coaches was pretty much going back and forth like that with their respective squads was just a good thing to see. But yeah, I'm actually Coach Cal is actually doing a great coaching job without having the number 1 draft pick times 5 as he normally does when he was with Kentucky. So
That wasn't helping him out either,
Arkansas,
though.
and he's balling right now.
That's true. But the biggest story of this for us, definitely here in this region, was what went down with Maryland. Good God, I reckon, boy. You talking about excitement. You talking about pressure, stepping up in the moment, making something out of it. And that boy, Derek Queen, right here from Baltimore, went out there, game on the line, hit the shot of shots. That was the only buzzer beater we've seen thus far in the tournament to give Maryland the win. Look, a lot of people say it shouldn't have been that close, but look, this is the NCAA tournament. This is anything can happen in a tournament. And when it was time to make a play, he said, "Give me the damn ball." He didn't use that word, but he said, "Give me the ball, and I'll go win the game." And he's a freshman, guys. That's what we have to remember. Now, with NIL money and transfer portals and only needing to play 1 year, then you can go to the league. We know that being a freshman doesn't mean the same thing it used to, but still give the guy credit.
He's still 18.
Exactly. Still give the guy credit. He's a lottery pick right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Top 10.
Big time players make big time plays. And he came up big. Justin, what was your thoughts when you saw what you saw on Sunday night?
Well, no question. It was a travel. So as a result, say no. No, if those that's arguing that point understand basketball, we're talking about 3 steps. The first of the 3 was the gather step. He had to come to a gather with the ball. He's allowed to take 2 extra steps after that. Which he did. So he was 100% within the rule books, or else they would have called it because it was so blatant. It wasn't like he was hiding it or anything or doing the James Harden 2-step that James does, which is legal also. So it was just a great thing to witness. Like I said, I do have some type of familiarity with this kid. The fact that I've seen him grow up a little bit, being around the neighborhood, and to see what I saw the other day, that I didn't even know that was in his warehouse in a sense. So, just for his own personal growth, that was just a beautiful thing to see. But for Maryland as a whole, if you realize Maryland lost some nail biters throughout the year, they weren't unfamiliar with this. So it's only a certain amount of L's where you get like, you know what, I could have done this better. I should have did this. And I think that's what was going through his head. Clearly, we're no mind readers, but something went through his mind saying, we're not going to go out like that. Not again, not on this stage. So to make it to Sweet 16 round is once again a beautiful thing. And, we're all eyes for their next couple games if they can get that far.
Calvin, your thoughts?
Yeah, like Justin mentioned, I think their last either 4 or 5 ball games were basically buzzer beaters in which they were on the wrong end of buzzer beater, and it almost happened again on Sunday with that shot the kid in Colorado State hit until Derek Queen decided to put the whole team, his city, his alma, well, you can't say his alma mater, but on his back and get that last bucket. So I think he solidified himself as a top 10 player in the NBA draft. We already know he's one and done. We already know he doesn't need to come back. He doesn't need to prove anything. It's just a matter of how far this team can go the rest of this tournament. But it was an exciting game. It was a matchup in which, you thought Maryland was just down. You were down some of that guard play early on. They just weren't getting the ball to Queen and to Reese. They ran a excellent pick and roll with Reese, get an easy bucket, and come down, take 2 3-pointers. Like, you don't even run the play again. Like, it was just frustrating to watch at some points, but they were able to pull it out late.
That last name sounds familiar. Who is Reese?
Angel Reese's brother, I believe. Is it brother or cousin?
Brother. So what you're saying is that Maryland is finally doing a great job of recruiting homegrown talent and making them play for their school, which is something that Maryland fans across the board was waiting for years.
I'll say this: they were able to get Derek Queen to come back home. So he got out there and because he went to Monteverde, right? Because he was down. He played with Cooper Flag, I believe.
Yes, that is accurate.
So, but I mean, I know he played 1 or 2 years here at St. Francis.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
St. Francis.
1 or 2 years. So I mean, they were able to come back home. I do know he was because he was rumored to go to Houston for a minute, and I don't know why he flipped, but then coming to Maryland, I think we're all happy. We can figure out this coaching situation as to what's going on there now. But those guys seem to ride with Willard right now for whatever's going on between him and the former AD. They seem to ride with him. They seem to be comfortable with him, and I guess he's paying them real good, like Derek Queen said as well. So I'm excited. Look, I got Maryland in the Final Four. I got them beating Florida. It may not, it may not have seemed like it last week, but they 4 or 5 point underdogs. I have them beating Florida out there in San Fran this weekend, or on Thursday, I should say.
My thing is, look, big time players make big time plays, as I said, but this bracket is ridiculous. This bracket, I said this last week.
Can we say it was kind of top heavy though? Because I mean,
no.
St. John,
I said this last
St.
week.
John's.
St. John. Nobody who picked St. John's. Nobody picked St. John's.
I said nobody was on St. John's. I said that.
But that's what I'm saying. I never liked the seeding from the jump, and I said this last week. If you even look up and down, you got the defending 2-time champions, and you put them in a position where for the second game, they're going to have to play Florida. You got a Memphis team who we all thought could be dangerous, and you put them in this bracket. Of course, they got upset, but they was good all year. To put them where they put, I don't know, put all these guys, Maryland possibly having to go up against a Florida now. You had a team in Texas Tech who was great all year. Again, another in that division, that conference, Kansas. You got Bill Self. We know what he represents. Choke artist. Going up against John Calipari, even though he's new to the Arkansas, but we know he's going to recruit well. And then you got Rick Pitino. I just think overall, like they kind of, if we're going to talk about these other brackets, some of this stuff could have been spread out a little bit more. If you want stories, and college basketball at the end of the day is still about when you get to the tournament, like Justin said about coaching and stories, something people can latch on to. I think we could have had a couple of these teams that would have went further. They just caught a bad draw, man. They really did. And to me, I think the UConn Huskies were greatly disrespected, man. Why would you put them in the same bracket as the #1 overall seed in the tournament? And you had to have them, and they lose on a controversial call at the end. That tells you these teams were closer than what their seeding really dictated. And I just think it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. Remember, this is the West bracket. And it's disrespectful to sing UConn all the way out there. I thought it was disrespectful. But Justin, you had something?
Mm-mm.
All right, cool. Next up, we got to go and talk about the Duke Blue Devils out there in the East. They appear to be, I'm not going to say, when you look at the competition is what it is. They rolled, they smoked, they did what they had to do against inferior competition, and that's what good teams should do early in the tournament. But to beat a team 93-48, come on, that's a disparity. That
93-49,
whatever, just ridiculous. That's
there for the experience.
that was stunning. Arizona did pretty much what I expected, so that matchup should be interesting. I think that'll be fun. But Cooper Flag looks like he's healthy. He's ready to ball. Other than that, Alabama, they look like they can go all the way. They look strong. I'm not really concerned about anybody else in this bracket, and I feel like this is the weakest bracket in all of the tournament. What's your thoughts, Calvin?
I mean, I think Duke, Alabama are two of the stronger teams. Now the rest of the bracket maybe.
That's the point.
But Duke and Alabama on
they gave them cupcakes to get all the way to there. That's my point.
I mean, I think Arizona's going to pose a tough test for Duke. I think Duke should still win. I mean, I don't think we should blame. We don't blame BYU beating Wisconsin. I think nobody was really high on Wisconsin coming out of that Big Ten conference. So I just think Duke and Arizona are just head and shoulders above everyone else. I'm not saying that the competition is that bad. They're just that good.
But
and
don't you
we
think
expect them
putting the competition in there to give them a run for their money could have?
I mean, what competition are we talking about? I mean, I don't think, unlike you, I don't think UConn deserved much higher than 7 seed and they were an 8 or a 9. You put them in this bracket, they still get smoked by Duke. So it doesn't matter, in my opinion, what you do with them. I think Wisconsin was overrated. Arizona and Oregon had a good matchup Sunday night. Well, I think Oregon went up to they went up 17-3 early on, and Arizona came back throughout the game. But they're conference rivals, so they kind of have some familiarity with each other as well. So I think they were decent teams. I just think Duke and Arizona head and shoulders above everyone else, and I think that's why it just looks like it's a weak bracket.
Justin,
I don't give a damn. How about that? I'm just gonna be honest with you. The easier the better. I'll take that too. You can give me whatever charge you want to give me. I can care less. All I want to see is from that top right, you see Duke, and it's a diagonal slant all the way down to the championship game. And that's all I care about at the end of the day. So whoever you want to play, whoever want to stick in front of them, I expect Duke to win. They finally have a well-balanced squad. My man was Proctor or whatever just hit 45 threes in the last game. We didn't even need Cooper Flagg to do what he did. So
they really didn't.
This team is just better than a lot of other teams, and we'll see our competition eventually. But for right now, we coasted as we should. Get the bench players some time in. It's the tournament.
All right, next up.
You did that real quick. Oh, okay, go ahead. Next up.
It's nothing to talk about. The South. Auburn is rolling. They got a collision course with Michigan. I wasn't highly entertained by much of what I saw here over the weekend. I thought that pretty much chalk. Everything happened as it was expected to happen. Nobody really believed in Louisville, so Creighton beating them wasn't really much of a shock. Ole Miss, okay, you got North Carolina, who didn't deserve to be in the tournament to begin with. Now, a lot of people were high on Iowa State.
Yeah.
So that was, but no, who didn't expect Michigan State? I think when you look at any tournament with Tom Izzo, you could pencil him in to the Sweet 16. I mean, that's what year hasn't he made the Sweet 16? So again, not much of a shock here. Anything stand out to you from this bracket? Let's start with you, Calvin.
I like Ole Miss to be upset Michigan State. I think they're underrated. I think one of the things that a lot of these SEC teams that are low ranked will also a lot of games to some of the echelon SEC teams, your Auburns, your Alabamas, your Tennessees, like that. So when you look at their record and you see 25-10, a lot of those losses to SEC opponents. The SEC is really good. I'm saying the SEC is the best basketball conference this year, so I would not be surprised if Ole Miss beats Michigan State, just because I think Ole Miss, you look at their ranking, you look at where they're seated, and you think they're not a good team, but it's just because of the conference that they play in. So I think we have Auburn, Ole Miss in the Elite Eight on I guess it's on Saturday or Sunday. So I like Ole Miss. I think whereas Michigan State, in my opinion, we saw them up close and personal against Maryland, about 3 weeks ago or so. They really weren't impressing me. Now, this is the tournament. This is Tom Izzo time, but they really just don't have the athletes that they normally do. And I think Ole Miss can get up and down the court and put up some numbers on Michigan State. So,
Justin?
Well, is Izzo retiring?
I haven't heard that.
Okay. To me, that would have made a difference too. But every game was by 10. No game was like nail biters or anything like that when it comes to this region. I am rooting for Michigan State just on the strength of Izzo. I like his program. I like this dedication. I like the fact that his players respond to him more than most. So I do hope that they make it out. But I have no horse in this. If anything, I expect Michigan State and Auburn to make it out, and we'll see who wins that game.
Yeah, not really right home out. And then finally, talk about that Midwest region, which I thought was pretty competitive overall. There was some matchups. I predicted Purdue would make it like where they at. Houston is my Final Four pick, so I'm not shocked they are on that collision course. I got Houston coming out of here, but Kentucky, Tennessee, that's going to be a big-time matchup. Very fun. That Illinois-Xavier game wasn't terrible. I mean, the score don't indicate it, but it was nip and tuck here and there. That was fun watching that opening day. Other than that, UCLA, You would have liked to see them put up a bigger fight against Tennessee, but I wasn't shocked by any of these outcomes. We never had any faith in nobody from the ACC to begin with. So McNeese beating Clemson was pretty much predicted. Gonzaga, they've been Cinderellas in the past. They gave Houston all they could handle, which was entertaining for a while it lasted. But I just think Houston has what it takes, and I think they're in a collision course with the Duke Blue Devils. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Justin, what's your thoughts on anything from this particular bracket?
It's just good to see that Purdue is showing that they're a well-balanced team without Zach Edey being everything for them. So they continue their success for the past couple years. So that's definitely awesome to see. But once again, just like what you said, I'm pretty much seeing Houston and Kentucky. They're just better than the rest of them. It's not. I don't even think that Kentucky Tennessee game is going to be close. To be honest with you, at least 7 to 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I was high on McNeese. I had them going to the Sweet 16. Purdue kind of ended that dream, but this is probably the most chalky that I probably would have had 1, 2, and 3. Houston, Tennessee, and Kentucky. I think we have the best remaining matchups, at least in the Sweet 16 in this region. I still have Houston. I just think they're head and shoulders above everyone. But I think a Houston Tennessee matchup does intrigue me. That SEC Houston finally plays against the SEC, and we kind of see what they're really about. But I still have Houston as the classiest division. I think we'll see that coming in the weekend when they're going to the Final Four.
Yeah. So just a quick thought. It was a discussion brought up earlier this week about how the transfer portal and things are probably this is hurting college basketball overall, because even when a player has a standout moment in a tournament or something like this, it's basically just a recruiting tool for the big schools to come in and say, okay, you got them, come on over and play for us. Do you think that ultimately this will be turned into junior varsity, or, the blue bloods, the big time schools will just pick off all the good players and just entice them to come transfer? My opinion is they've been doing that anyway. I think there will always be a Cinderella. As long as there's a basketball, there's a favorite, and there's an underdog. Somebody's going to bust through. Now, how far can they bust through? We don't know. But I don't want too many teams coming out of nowhere. I want some big dogs. I want the best of the best that had to play each other after we get around the 16. You know what I mean? So what's your thoughts overall on the idea that the transfer portal and NIL money is going to overall be a detriment to college basketball? Calvin, I'll start with you.
I'm all for it. We don't have a problem when coaches leave and they announce that they're leaving before the tournament or right after the loss in the NCAA tournament as well. I have no problem with it. Go get y'all money. And also, I think this leads to more opportunities for Division II, Division I AA players as well, because then they get to move up to these mid-majors, and then they get to shine on this stage during March Madness as well. I have no problem with it. We don't have a problem when coaches do it. I'm not going to have a problem when the kids do it to have a chance at generational wealth. Even if they don't make the NBA, you're still going to get $2 and $3 million for 1 or 2 seasons of basketball that can set yourself up for life. Set yourself up for life. I do not have a problem with it. Keep getting your money.
Your thoughts?
Do we really care about these underdog situations, these other underdog stories?
On the first weekend. After that, I want y'all.
I want the best.
Like, name somebody that was on the underdog team that's actually significant. So, with that being said, still need for underdog.
It will be this weekend.
It's nothing. It's nothing too much to add to it. It's either you take it how it is now, or we go back where they were staying multiple years, and then the teams had powerhouses because the players were staying.
That was going to be my point. I think this is better for the game, and that was my point when I was like, hold up. If you think about it, what is stopping? To me, the incentive before was, I want to go to a Duke, I want to go to a Carolina, I want to go to a UConn because, hey, I'm going to play with the best of the best as my teammates. I'm going to be seen on national TV. I'm going to be featured more, and that's going to help my stock going in the future. Now, because you can get paid the same or more to go to a Purdue or go to a Illinois or go to a Maryland. Not the biggest of the best schools when we think of basketball, but they still like major universities. And you can spread the talent out throughout the country. Those players still getting paid to go there. They still getting featured. They still can build teams from within their own state, getting teams locally. But everybody doesn't feel like they need to flock to Duke, flock to North Carolina, flock to these schools that have the prestige of the history behind it, where you can go to a St. John's and be like, okay, I can get paid at St. John's if they're going to put money behind it. That's why I think it's actually better for college basketball when the players are incentivized enough that these schools who do have some resources, we're not talking about Jackson State or these, HBCUs or nothing. We ain't talking about like mid-majors where, in that sense, we talking about like schools that once had a name but have fallen off can rebuild themselves. Like Indiana might be able to come back if they go strike and get one player. You know what I mean? I just think it's better overall for college basketball when money is basically the equalizer. It's not like everybody's going to load up. Go ahead, Cal.
Do you know where the number one player in the country is going to school next year?
No, where?
He's going to BYU. And you know why he's going to BYU? Because the owner of Utah Jazz is throwing out money to say, I want my alma mater to be good.
There you go.
So you come to BYU. And he's going to make more money in his first year of college than he would make in his first year of his rookie scale in the NBA.
And he elevates that team by being there.
So
look, at the end of the day, these players was getting paid anyway. How does a Michael Beasley end up in Kansas State? They paid him.
Right. How did Ben Simmons end up in LSU? I agree.
No, we know that, but it's still different when it's openly known that they're paying them.
Yeah, we're just not lying anymore.
Yeah, it's still different. And the transfer portal is the biggest thing, I think, because you don't feel the need to have to just go to one or two schools anymore or three schools. To be like, look, Duke was always getting the best talent. Now they got Cooper Flag, but when the last time Duke had like that guy? Go ahead, Justin. Tell me.
I mean, they had Paolo.
We had Paolo,
which is crazy because if he was a senior, he'd be on his team. And make it like Paolo been in the league 4 years, which is crazy.
Brandon Ingram.
Look how long ago that was.
I mean, every few years we got number one with Zion. RJ was in the same class.
Zion, yeah.
It's not every year. That's what I mean. It used to be every year. Anyway, interesting stuff. Let's move on. Let's get to our list for the week. Get your list out. Let's go. So, folks, just a refresher if you haven't been following us every week. We are going through the NBA eras according to age. Gen Z was the first week. We put those guys in order 15 through 1. Last week, we put the order of the millennials. We actually did 16 because we added Dwight Howard to the list last week, 16 through 1. Number one pick consensusly for the consensus for Gen Z was not across the board the same. I believe I had
I thought we all had LeBron. Oh, for Gen Z.
No, Gen Z.
Yeah.
I think who'd you have, Calvin? Do you recall?
I think I had Tatum.
And Justin, do you remember who you had number one?
Probably Wemby.
I think you did have Wemby. And I had Luka Doncic. Yeah. So, but last week we all had LeBron James representing millennials era, and that was more so. Gen Z was more of a projection. Millennials was more of looking at the body of work, even though some of these players are still playing. But we all decided that if we had to pick one guy to represent that particular era, it would be LeBron James. And that we're going to do the same thing for Gen X. Now, this particular era is kind of going to be the first one where we can definitively say none of these players are currently in the league. Their story is written, that everything has been done. We don't have to project. We don't have to look at, well, what if they win another title? No. Their career is over. So we're going to put 1 through 15 through 1, counting backwards, who represented that era the best as for their contributions to the Gen X era. So as we do each and every week, we're going to pull up our list. Calvin, we're starting with you with number 15 on the board. If you had to pick a player that represents this generation, who would be the last player of the 15 people in this particular pool that we put together? If you need a refresher,
I got Vince Carter. No, I got my list. I got Vince Carter.
Wow.
I mean, I think Vince is the case when people talk about longevity and how that's a positive for LeBron or it's a positive for anyone. I look at Vince because you can arguably say his last 7, 8 years were kind of a just he's still in the league type of player. He went from team to team, never really competing. At his peak, he never really ascended to what we thought he would be. He maxed out at a conference semifinals in 2001, losing that shot, missing that shot against Philadelphia. He does have he did make a major contribution in the Olympics. I think we all remember that in 2000, and that's probably a play that's just synonymous with his career. We remember the slam dunk competition, but I just always expected more. Maybe it was more from him as a basketball player with his athleticism, and he just never reached that peak. So I'm not saying he's absolute worst. He's a Hall of Famer, but he just doesn't. He should have done more with his career, in my opinion. So I got Vince there.
I guess my only question would be for you, if you put Vince there, did he do anything that would make him be a face of that era that you think sets
the slam dunk competition? I mean, I think that's really it. The slam dunk competition and the dunk over the French guy in the Olympics. That's really it. I mean, he made one play. I could remember one play. I'm not gonna say he made one play. He made one play in the playoffs, hitting a shot for Dallas, but that was in the first round against San Antonio. I don't think he ever made it to a conference finals. He made it to conference semifinals, I believe, twice. Like don't really have the individual awards. Like you always expected more from his body, from what he could do just from an athletic perspective, and it just never reached that perspective, in my opinion. Where I always wanted more on the basketball court. I always wanted him to, be more dominant, not just even more than dunking, just being a better scorer, being a better facilitator, take over games, because he was always compared with Jordan athleticism wise, and I think that's what held him to a higher standard, because you expected to see more of what Jordan did, in other facets of the game, but it just never happened.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I loved your explanation. I did. Justin, who you got? Number 15.
I'm adding somebody in.
Oh, so you going 16.
Who you kicking out?
Oh, that's right. You kicking somebody out. Yeah, it's the top 15. That's right.
Well, we'll get that. You don't have his picture, so it's okay. So I guess you could put the person I'm kicking out. You can put his picture there for now. Okay.
All right. Who is it?
Tony Parker is getting kicked out. Off the rip, we getting rid of this Frenchman. Get him up out of here. The person that I'm having in his slot, Agent Zero Gilbert Arenas. Enough said. You put Agent on any other team. Tony Parker got lucky on that San Antonio team. Tony Parker got lucky on that San Antonio team. He had to mature and all this other stuff. If he was on other teams, they probably would have got rid of him. They would have sent him back to the Euro League and whatever the case may be, and they would have said, Manu, you go ahead and dominate. Manu was dominating. Steven Jackson was dominating. Tim Duncan was dominating. Kawhi Leonard was dominating. And then Tony Parker decided to, okay, I got my little jumper, and now like everything's supposed to be all well and good now. I don't like Tony Parker. I don't like the character that is Tony Parker, and I'm putting Agent Zero because Hibachi was much more impactful than Tony Parker and the and all that other crap that he brought to the league. So, Agent Zero, Washington Wizards, he made you forget about Michael Jordan in Washington. That's how great Gilbert was. Gilbert put 60 on Kobe and them boys. All right? We're not going to forget that. Kobe came to him and said, guess what? You won't do that again. He didn't. He just gave him like 35 to 40 the next time he played each other. And Kobe was trying to strap him down, pause. So all that being said, when it was just one-on-one, which is I don't have a great team behind me, that's okay. Gilbert was the one that made people say, yo, that dude is different. Gilbert Arenas. Saying one-on-one to see who wins that game. Next.
Well, guys, let me just say this.
Next.
that pretty much explains why somebody's favorite players are losers. You know what I mean? Like never won nothing because they don't value winning. They don't value championships. They don't value postseason play.
He
They
kicked
just
off a Finals MVP.
yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Not just a regular season. Now say that again, you know what? I'm gonna leave it.
You ain't got Chauncey Billups on here. I can say that too about Chauncey. He was a Finals MVP.
Chauncey
That
had
don't mean
one good.
too
Chauncey
much.
had one good year.
One good run, and you gonna compare? Stop it. But it's okay. It's your list. Your list.
Yeah.
You can put whoever you want on your list. For me, and Calvin, you made a hell of a point. I think if you looked at totality of everyone's career of these lists, I'm going with Tracy McGrady. I think Vince at least was I'm not doing tit for tat. I was just gonna be mean to do that. No, I agree with you, Calvin. When you look at everyone's career there, I think Vince Carter, he doesn't have championship, he doesn't have an MVP, he's never been the best player, he's never been nothing where I would be like, oh, Vince, you gotta no, I just can't. So yeah, you made the case. So I agree with you on that 100%. And then for number 14 on my list, and I'm still feeling very disrespected by what you just said, but I'm gonna let it go for now and move on. But I'm getting pissed just thinking about that you could put Tony Parker that low on anybody's list. That's just crazy.
He ain't even got him on the list. I don't know what you're talking about. He ain't even on the list.
That's the point. That's the point.
Get him out of here.
I'm going to go with Chris Webber. Look, I love C. Webb early in his career, but it's just never really got over the hump. Was he the guy at points in his career? Of course. If you look at his stats, you'll say, oh, he had a very good run. But if you go back and look at especially those this era that we're really focusing on, we know he came in the early 90s. You know, he went to Michigan. We know he's actually was in the league a lot longer. That Washington stint is not really doing him any favors. The Golden State didn't really do him any favors. When he got to Sacramento and they were going up against the Lakers and them and Bibby and Pager and all them, I say he had a chance. You know what I mean? We know he had a chance. But if you really look at it, and we look at those power forwards out in the West, you look at the KG, the Tim Duncan, the Dirk, like the Rasheed Wallaces. I think he's a touch above Rasheed, which is why Rasheed didn't make this list. But C-Webb was never what those other guys were. If it's because of his height, if it was because of what he was a great ball handler for this man of his size, kind of before his time in that sense. But I just don't think he ever reached the level of what his talent projected him to be. So I'm going with Chris Webber right there, number 14. Justin, your thoughts on your next pick? Excuse me.
My next pick probably is going to be controversial again. I just don't care, man. Paul Pierce, next up. Let's go. Let's get him out the way.
Hey, you ain't getting no pushback from me. None.
When I say that this dude was going to have a Joe Johnson-esque career, right? He was headed for a Joe Johnson type of a career. He's good. People like us would remember him. Remember that time when he J'd Al Harrington from the three? He was having a career like that, and then he got
saved.
The goddamn on Danny Ainge and Kevin McHale worked some magic out, and next thing you know, you got KG and you got Ray Allen coming towards you, and now you happen to be, oh yeah, he's that guy now. He was a closer. I will give him that, but any other one of these guys that's ahead of him on this list could easily take that same role and just take it up off his hands, and they would have been just fine. You don't look at me like that. You could put Matt, Vince, all those dudes can replace Paul Pierce on that Boston team, and they have the same exact success. Paul Pierce wasn't having that kind of success. He was good, but he wasn't that dude like that. He was just that elbow jumper kind of guy. He was
just
Jerry
like Doc Rivers,
Stackhouse,
living off
Jerry
that one title.
Stackhouse, and goddamn Joe Johnson, and it would have been Paul Pierce. Oh yeah, he's a part of that crew, and it would have Justice. You would have forgot about him just like that. This 2008 Boston Celtics team pissed me off. I ain't never see a team and its individual players hold on to a champion and the goddamn goddamn head coach on top of that. That's the only reason why he has a job today is because of that.
We're gonna talk about him later.
I know we are. That was the same way for later on. That's the only. That's the only thing about this team, man. So Paul Pierce. There you go. You're lucky you're on the list. I actually thought about removing him over TP. You should have over TP. No. We got to go.
All right, so you get two of mine, right?
Yep. You back to back.
First is McGrady. I'm just gonna get it out the way. Yeah, I saved you from being last. I saved you from even put you on this list. This guy has he's a Hall of Famer. I don't agree with that.
You say that right there.
He has the weakest resume. He has the weakest resume out of any one of these 15 players. I bumped Vince past him just a little bit. But how many gold medals does he have? How many rings does he have?
Gold medals.
What is this international?
How many playoff series wins does he have?
He got three. He got about 3 or 4.
He got 3 when he didn't play. Let's be specific.
That's neither here nor there.
He didn't play.
That's neither you asked the question.
Look,
I answered the question.
He almost got a ring, but I'm not even going. But Ray Allen ended those hopes and dreams. I'm just the problem I have is that when we think of Tracy McGrady's career, we think of one of two things: either him making Kobe touch dirt and then Kobe dunked on the whole team, or him scoring.
You ain't got to say that second half.
8 points
and he jacked the hell out of him.
8 points in 11 seconds or whatever it was.
13 and 30. 13 and 32.
There are no playoff 13
moments. And 30.
There are
Shout
no
out to Devin Brown
moments.
With the headband. The Usher looked like for busting his ass to make that
you have your time.
Reclaim your time.
You have your time to put him at 2 or whatever you want to do. There are no playoff moments when it comes to Tracy McGrady. There are no clutch moments when it comes to Tracy McGrady. You were talking about he won a scoring title. He won 2 scoring titles. But there was they led to nothing in his career. They led to no wins. This is a guy who did not win a playoff series.
He had Doc Rivers as his head coach. That was strike one.
Series.
That was strike one. He had Doc Rivers as the head coach.
That's why he hate playoff series. Can we be for real? Let's just say he was overrated. He was the best 2 guard because it was Kobe and then him. Let's just say Kobe spoke highly of him, and that's why he's held in this high regard today. But he did nothing in his career. But we're gonna say that he's top 15. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. I digress.
Hall of Fame,
so next,
Tracy McGrady.
Next, I have C. Webb. Unlike McGrady, C. Webb was the best player on the team that made it to the conference finals. C. Webb led their team to a tough match. It was a loss, but he led them to a loss against the LA Lakers. And if you want to be specific, some people even think that they should have won that series and made it to the finals. C. Webb did more with his career than Tracy McGrady did in his career. And that's why I have him higher. That's all I got.
All right, Justin, who you got next?
I want to see this justified having McGrady top 5, whatever you got him.
You know he disrespectful. That's why he put Tony Parker down so low. Because he don't care about winning. He cares about individual play.
That's why my man Gil on the list. Next. Let me pull out my Rolodex.
You need me to scroll down?
Pau Gasol. Put him on the list. Put him on the list. Pau Gasol, why are you famous? Why are you popular? Yes, you was Rookie of the Year. Yes, you was a little bit different than everybody else.
Each one of these guys has more playoff series wins in 1 year.
I could care less about any of that you're talking about right now. It doesn't matter. He didn't win anything when he was in Memphis. I'll say that. He didn't win when he was getting swept in Memphis.
What did McGrady do in New York?
Nobody cares about New York.
What did McGrady do in San Antonio?
That's neither. Give me my time back. Give me my time. Thank you
Let's
very
go,
much.
Timmy.
As I was saying,
what screen?
As I was saying, that you need your teammate support when it comes to screens. As I was saying, Pau Gasol only made it as far as he did because of Kobe Bean Bryant. Kobe went as far, and he dragged him along with. He was soft, pause. KG punked him, and he had to get toughened up and all this other stuff. And he was playing power forward because they had Andrew Bynum playing center, so he wasn't even getting the biggest of opponents.
Hey,
He had a nice little power forward role.
Is that number
But when I'm
one
talking about power
retired in
forwards,
Orlando? I
when
don't
I
remember.
talk about power forwards,
not-
I don't think
I
of
think
Pau
that 16 is
Gasol.
retired in LA.
I don't think of
That
Pau
34 is
Gasol as
retired
being one of
in
the
Boston.
premier
That
power
9 retired
forwards
in
of
San
that era.
Antonio. Is it retired in San Antonio? I don't know.
I don't think Pau Gasol is one of the premier power forwards of this era. He's forgotten about for a reason. So as a result, he's on the list. Low on the list.
I got him lower than C-Web. I'm sorry. All right, mine. I will. Now is the place for McGrady. Only reason why I put C-Web lower is because I seen Tracy at least be a top scorer in the league at some point. At least he was like a force to be reckoned with, where he was dangerous, man.
Season.
And I thought him and Yao Ming had a good thing down in
35
Houston.
in the playoffs too.
I thought he was very high impactful, and to me, C-Web never gave me that, so that's why I put him over C-Web. But all of your points are valid, Calvin, 100%. I just think I value winning in the playoffs. I value big time performances in the playoffs, and winning. You know what I mean? But I can't agree with the Pau Gasol pick. I really can't. Not that low, because you could say that Kobe did this. I'd say without Gasol, Kobe doesn't win those 2 titles. So remember, that was the trade. That was the trade that got them over the hump. So no, I can't agree with that. But what I will agree with is the Paul Pierce one. Look, man, one of the most overrated players in NBA history. I don't care what anybody say. Him and Antoine Walker couldn't do it. When he finally got Rondo, Ray Allen, KG, everything worked out just fine. And like you say, they've been living off that one title for all these years. To me, what he did in Washington at the very end at least gave me a little bit of something to have some respect for, because he was fighting hard. But that only put him above McGrady and C-Web. And again, he got one title, so I'll give him credit for that. So he goes above the rest of these guys. But that's as far as I go. Paul Pierce on my list. Justin, you up?
You talking about titles so much, I don't see Robert Horry on this goddamn list.
He wasn't another lead of his
His
team.
career was more impressive than McGrady's.
Terrible. Terrible take. Next. Allow the old Rolo that well, I want to say but I'm gonna save him a little bit, just a little bit. We can go ahead on and put Vince Carter right here.
Damn, pretty high on your list. Okay.
I mean, all he was Air Canada, you know. Just put the whole Toronto on his back for multiple years. Did his thing in New Jersey. But I think his partner was the main person behind that, so that he's going to go a little bit higher on the list. Yeah, Vince Carter, 20 years. I'm gonna give him some longevity love too. 20 years playing in the league.
22, right?
I
22.
think so. And honestly, the greatest dunker to ever play. That does give some credence in the game of basketball. He was unstoppable once he decided to take off. I'll give him that.
All right. Calvin, you got 2 picks.
Is that in-game dunker or just dunker overall? I'm just curious.
Period.
Okay.
I'll take Jordan. But go ahead.
Yeah, I got Pierce next. I'm so tired of the 08 team. They've become unlikable as the years go past. He literally became relevant because KG decided to come to Boston after the Ray Allen trade, and that was it. And as much as I think KG's career is overrated, he deserves more credit for winning that title than Paul Pierce did. He was the defensive anchor. He was the one that locked up Pau Gasol, which was the reason that they won in 08. Because the next 2 years when he couldn't stop Pau, they lost. So he was the reason that he's more responsible for that win, for that ring, in my opinion, than Paul Pierce. And like you said, when he got to Washington and he contributed off the bench, hit that shot against Toronto, and then late in his career, tried to ride off in the sunset with LA, wasn't really there. But his one thing about Paul Pierce, huh?
I said, "What you think? You Kobe? They don't love you like that."
Yeah. One thing about Paul Pierce, when he was going head to head with LeBron, he had the better team, but he was going head to head with LeBron in those playoff series in 07 and 08. So I do give him credit for that. Well, 08 and 09, I should say. I give him credit for that. But however, you had the better team, you're supposed to win. You just you didn't make it easier as it seemed. So that's why I got Paul Pierce there. Next, I got Nash. Look, I understand that he's a two-time MVP. I don't think he deserved to be a two-time MVP. I think Kobe should have got one. I think Shaq deserved the other one. So in my opinion, he's a zero-time MVP. He never made his teams better to the point where they got over the hump. Dallas got better after he left. We don't talk about that. Why did Dallas get better after he left? They played better defense. They got the ball to their playmakers more, and Nowitzki became a better playmaker as well and better scorer. We don't talk about that. We talk about the Phoenix years. They were running gun. They were up and down. You want to talk about the 1 year with the Robert Horry shove? Okay, they still didn't win anything. He made one conference finals in 2010. Kobe shut that down. I think he was slightly overrated. We give him love for these back-to-back MVPs, in which he really didn't earn either. And we give him love for this creating this 8 seconds or less offense. When I would give more credit to D'Antoni, I give more credit to Stoudemire. I give more credit to initially Joe Johnson, who was there the first couple years. He was a product of the system that exploited what he does best in the game of basketball. It did not lead to wins, and he's overrated in my opinion. I got Steve Nash there.
Justin?
It did not lead to championships.
Okay,
it definitely led to wins.
They won a lot of games.
Okay, you want to say it like that? That's fine. It didn't lead to wins when it mattered. I'll say it like that.
Jesus Christ. Next, we're gonna go with the prototype of a basketball player. And what I mean by prototype is, I want to make sure you hear me clearly, is when you decide to create a basketball, if you was able to go into this well of talent and you say, you know what, I want to be on the taller side. Shut your mouth. I want to be on the taller side. I want to have handles. I want to be able to shoot over everybody. I want to be able to dunk on people. I want to be able to have a strap down defense when I'm in my younger years. And I want to have all those things.
You ain't seen nothing about winning.
That? You know what happens when you create all that?
You ain't seen nothing about winning.
Tracy McGrady. That's what happens when you come out of that situation like that. That is an awesome prototype.
I'm surprised you ain't got him higher.
Now, I respect winning somewhat. As a result, Tracy McGrady gets that. He is what you want in a basketball player. He is the representation of a black man in China. China put him on the map, and thank you, China, for putting him into the Hall of Fame. I know y'all had a lot to do with it. Thank you, Yao Ming. I appreciate you. We had to suffer through some hard times together, but we made it through. Both of them in the Hall of Fame. Just a great thing. It was a great story. Thank you, Devin Brown, for making Tracy McGrady's ultimate highlight within 1 33-second clip. Shout you out for falling on your face. I appreciate you, Tracy McGrady. Woo!
Great speech.
He said all that, ain't say not near accolade.
That is accolades.
He made the Hall. Great. Look, man, I have a great respect for a marksman. I have a great respect in Ray Allen, very much so, is a championship player. But for me, he just never was, even in Seattle. How can I put it? Can I say that Ray Allen was like on the level of a Kobe or like a driving force of a team? No. But he was always a great ancillary piece, like a Klay Thompson. You know what I mean? Never 8-1, but maybe 1B. You know what I mean? So it feels disrespectful to put Ray Allen here, but I just think he belongs firmly as a top player of the generation for sure. The shot that he made against what was that? The three against the Heat and the Spurs. Remember, he made that 3-pointer in the corner.
Do you remember that?
Phenomenal play I no doubt about it. But I mean, he didn't average a high. He didn't average a lot of points. He wasn't like a leading scorer for his team. Probably never made no All NBA first team, second team. I just can't put him up there. I just can't. I can't. So Ray goes here on my list. Very respectable. Nothing wrong with being here on this list. And then I will then put Pau Gasol. I think Gasol, again, all the accolades while he was in Memphis, well-deserved, big-time player. Went to LA, was a difference maker, two-time champion, well-deserved. But again, second fiddle to Kobe. Second fiddle. Never was the leader of the team in LA when they won them titles. But phenomenal talent. I'm not going to disrespect him in any way. But this way he falls here on my list. Justin, you're next.
Was McGrady on that 75th anniversary team? No? I'm just curious. I don't remember.
No, he wasn't.
He was
Remember,
not.
we debated it. Mm-hmm.
Look
at me, still talking about
for me. No debate for me.
Justin, who you got?
That man had top 5 talent. Damn, 75. Next is I was leaning one direction, but that Ray Allen talk was very enlightening. I'm not even gonna lie to you. You were 100% spot on with everything Ray Allen, and that's what we're gonna go with. We're gonna go with Chris Webber right here. We're gonna hold on for Ray Allen one more time. Chris Webber, you just wasn't top 3 power force. You was always that other guy. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I can't, put you where I want to put you. You don't have those stats like that. You wasn't a MVP. You wasn't a defensive player of the year. You didn't go to the championship. You did lead a team, though. I'll give you that. And you did have one of the greatest teams not to win a championship. He can have that. That Sacramento Kings was great. He made the basketball community as a whole accept White Chocolate as being just another guy, that's with us. Because we wasn't feeling Jason Williams at first. It was this white guy doing all these things with all these tricks with the ball. Thing was like, you know what? See where vouch for him. I'm a vouch for him. Shout out to Jay Will and the crew. So Chris Webber goes there.
Okay. Calvin, double pick. What you got?
Next, I got Tony Parker, Finals MVP. I don't know what was peak Tony Parker. I mean, we saw what happened in Charlotte, but we had so much talent around him. He had arguably the best coach of this generation around him as well. You can make the argument that they didn't go back to back because he was injured in 2013.
Exactly.
He was healthy in 2014. He was Finals MVP and they won. So you can make the argument as well. I do think there are better guards ahead of him. I just don't know
most of the guards
how impactful he was. I mean, he had a great 2-year stretch, in my opinion. I just don't know if his prime was beyond that. I understand his value, but I'm just kind of on the fence with him. There was so much talent in San Antonio. You could say Manu was more valuable than him. Of course, you could say Duncan was more valuable than him. You could say Pop was more valuable than him. It's just in a funny area. And then the late years, he just kind of has his personal issues as well, which could make you view him a certain way. So I got Tony P right there.
Ish. His old teammate said they don't trust him. He's a snake. He's a terrible individual.
I thought Matt Vaughn said that. Stephen Jackson said that.
Stephen Jackson said it. DeJounte Murray said he ain't got no love for the boy. Tony Parker, clearly Kawhi Leonard don't like the boy. Tony Parker got some issues, man. You know what I'm saying? Ask Ava Longoria how she feel about the dude. Got some issues.
You mean as Brent Berry or whoever it was?
Yeah.
Was it Brent
that was
Berry?
His wife. And Brent, it was one of the Berries. Yeah. He a terrible guy.
I'm going to let y'all talk. His hand a little heavy with them rings, but go ahead.
Next I got Powell. 2 rings. He was never the guy in Memphis, but he found his niche in LA. One of the greatest Lakers. Numbers retired. Helped Kobe get those second 2 rings. You can make the argument that they should have won more if he was just a little bit better prepared in 08. But he's a Laker legend, and that says a lot for just to be considered one of those guys. And this is where I got him. He was never the greatest at his position during his prime, but he was always there just fighting, and Kobe made him better. And I think when you're able to be a Laker legend, when you earn Kobe's respect, that says a lot more about your career than what numbers can say sometimes. So I got Powell here.
Justin, who you got next?
Ray Allen. Some of these sidekicks got to go, man. He was definitely one of the best sidekicks of all time, so I give him that.
All right. Any other explanation?
Right. Bring it up.
All right.
He played better and he got game. What do you want me to say?
That's what I agree with. That.
Shout out to Jesus.
Here, because I am impartial and I tell the truth, I go Tony Parker now. Look, since I'll give him the respect he deserves, since I am the resident Spurs fan, we don't win 3 rings without Tony Parker, and that's a fact. We don't win
if you had somebody else.
He won 4 rings. One of those rings, he was young. It was a little bit before our time, but that Detroit series, Lord have mercy. That oh man, jeez, just got a flashback. Got a chill ran through my body just now. Lord have mercy. Tony Parker was one of the most big time players in the playoffs in the mid 2000s. I don't think people truly appreciate how many big time plays Tony Parker made that changed the game. Everybody talk about Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was good. Don't get me wrong. I love Tim Duncan. Was great,
power forward of all time.
Sensational, and I know that's he's high on my list. That's my man, but do not discount the engine that was Tony Parker. People say Monty Ginobili. Ginobili came off the bench for a reason because they didn't want both ball handlers on the court at the same time. When Tony needed a spell, then Monty would come in. At the end of the games, they play together. But look who had the ball in his hands every time. That was Tony Parker. The teardrop, geez, Christmas. The ball handling skills, the underrated as a passer, setting up Tim in his spots where he needed to be. Finals MVP, not we had to give it to somebody. No. The driving force, big time. That mid-range jumper, this was before guys just wanted to shoot threes all the time. He didn't need to shoot a bunch of threes. Tony probably really was. I can't name how many times Tony took a 3. Like, I can't even remember. Tony was a mid-range monster and would go to the hole. He was like, you're talking about James Harden. Go back and watch. He took the opposite thing and said, I'm going to the cup. He had Tim, I don't care. I'm going in there. He just, man, he lived in the paint. I don't think there was a guard around who scored more in the paint than Tony Parker during that stretch of time. He just is one of the best, man. He didn't need to get all his points off 3-pointers, which I respected. Hey, man, he deserves it, man. MVP, All-Star, any accolade you want, he got it. So congratulations. You deserve to be on my list representing this era. And you got 4 rings. How many of these guys have we named got 2, 3 rings? None of these guys.
I know guys that got on this list ain't got 4 playoff wins.
Agreed.
Tristan Berry has more than 4 playoff wins.
But
in one series?
And I debated it. I was like, he belongs above Steve Nash, but I'm not putting him above Steve Nash because you say he ain't deserve it, but you get what you get. You don't get what you deserve. He got 2 MVPs. He was the driving force behind that team. He was a marksman from 3, the mid-range, free throw line. He was a 90%, all that guy. That guy was a leader of his team. He ran an exciting brand of basketball. He will be remembered as a face of the league during that time period and a hell of a representative for that generation. And because he had the individual accolades during the regular season, which you'll always get more of a spotlight for because of the longer period of time, and you won 2 MVPs. That means he was the central focus. Tony, for as much as I love him, and I know he led the teams, that will always be Tim Duncan's team. So he'll always be considered a sidekick. Even when Kawhi came on later,
he was a side chick.
Yeah, no. And Tony's injuries hurt him. Tony, if Tony could have stayed healthy, the Spurs might have 7 or 8 rings, to be honest with you. It was 3 more years where, had Tony not gotten hurt, they would have been right there again. And then remember when Kawhi got hurt, Tony was hurt too. So it wasn't just Kawhi. So yeah. But Steve Nash, remember that year he got thrown into the boards and broke his nose. That was a year people thought they might win a title. So I'm not going to disrespect Steve Nash. Yeah. He deserved to be there on my list. Next up, Justin, what you got?
Chris Webber. Did I say him? I said him.
You already put Chris Webber.
Right. That threw me off, man. And all that Tony Parker crap, you know? Hold on. Let me pull out the joint. Yeah, I guess he goes here then, huh? Yeah.
Who you got?
All right, go ahead on and put Steve Nash there.
Rationale?
He was more than just a guy in D'Antoni's system. If anything, he was the architect that drove it, that made it popular, and made it a thing. I just think you need to throw some more respect on Steve Nash's name. He is a 2-time MVP because he did change that franchise 100%. We remember that franchise before. Amari was there already. Stephon Marbury was leading that show, and Stephon Marbury got the X, and then Steve Nash took that to a whole nother level. So we're going to give just a little bit of love to Steve Nash on top of that. His ability to penetrate the interior pause and then find the open man. I mean, he made Quentin Richardson a household name. He made Joe Johnson wasn't really ISO Joe yet. You know what I'm saying? That was later on. He was just a guy that was backing up Steve Nash for real. Like, we're not going to just pull on Steve Nash like he wasn't like this little white guy out there doing wizardry with the ball, because he definitely was. He was one of the main people to say, I don't like this new ball, bring in the old ball. So we got the old ball back because of Steve Nash, because he was at least said something about it. A lot of guys went in and said, I'm going to just keep on rolling with it. So yeah, he never had the ability to take it to the championship round. That's a defensive thing, and that's a problem in which D'Antoni definitely just never stressed at all. But we know that. So I'm not going to put that 100% on Steve Nash. Him and Amari Stoudemire was one of the greatest 1-2 combinations this side of Karl Malone and John Stockton, for real. Like, that was really a sight to see, seeing both of them in their prime. So I definitely want to show some love to Steve Nash on that. 2-time MVP for a reason. Should he got it over Kobe? No, he shouldn't have got it over Kobe. But he got it, though.
Yeah. All right, Calvin, double pick. What's up?
I got Ray next. You already really gave the reasons. I'll say, like, Milwaukee, Ray Allen was a problem. And arguably
Glenn Robinson.
This was the best 3-point team. This was the best 3-point shooter ever at a point. I mean, Steph has surpassed him, but at one point, Ray Allen was the best 3-point shooter. I think we gotta remember that as well. Next, I got a guy y'all probably gonna have high. I got AI. I think AI. We remember AI, and he's slightly overrated in my opinion. I mean, he had great years. He had one phenomenal year. That was the year they went to the finals. But outside of that year, he made the conference finals one more time in his career. I'm sorry, the conference semifinals one more time in his career. We're talking about a guy that came in the league in 96 and basically played for 14, 15 years. He made the conference finals one more time after his 4th year in the league. We don't remember that. We don't remember, some of the late years with Larry Brown, some of the on and off the court back and forth with him. We don't remember the Denver years in which it seemed to be a struggle with whether or not it was his team or was Melo's team. I'm not trying to downplay AI. I just think we remember him in a better light than he really was. The scoring was great when he was on top of his game in early 2000s. It was great, but he never got to that peak outside of that 1 year. And I think we remember more for what he did off the court than he did on the court, which is a part of it as well. But I just think we remember his on the court. And it also, let's not forget, he was part of that 2004 team as well in the Olympics that lost and had bronze. I'm not trying to downplay AI's career. I just think that we remember him in a higher light than he was because of what happened. Because of more than what happened off the court and on the court.
You know what? Yeah. Let me cut you off. I'm sorry, man.
I think he was done.
This is my problem. This is my problem with a lot of Kobe fans. it's the same Jordan thing. Like y'all just feel like to make your guy like the best, you have to denigrate everybody else.
I'm not
It
denigrating.
really
I'm
You
just telling you.
definitely came across in a negative angle.
That's what he
I'm
did.
literally
You
saying
did that last
he had.
episode. I forgot who was with, but you came
But
across.
you
disrespectful
to
last
I literally
elevate
said
Kobe,
he
you
had
got to
a
shit
great
on
season.
these other great players from that
You know
generation.
what? I'm telling the truth. We
And
remember
I've
AI
noticed
in a
it. Look-
greater light
look where
than
you
in a
put
Russell
greater light.
Westbrook.
Look where you
You
put
had
Tracy.
the second take on Russell Westbrook too. You are a hater, yo.
You know, you
You are
hate
a
it.
hater.
You know, it's in your
I'm
blood.
telling the
It's
truth.
like you can't help it.
It's the
Like
truth.
there ain't no truth. You to
What did I say
elevate
is a
your
lie?
guy. No
What did I
other
say that's
shooting
a
guard
lie?
can be close. No other shooting guard can have
What
any
else did I say that was
credit.
a lie?
Everything because he never won nothing. Like
He- what
AI
did-
changed. I'm not going to talk about AI
He
until
did
it's my
not
turn,
win a
but
playoff series
it's
after
fine.
2000.
I'll
I'm
give
sorry,
his
he did not-
takes when it's my
what
turn.
did
I'll
I say
give
is a lie?
I'll give him a proper synopsis when it's my turn. Go ahead, Justin. Oh, I'm sorry, you get two. No, you had Ray Allen first. Okay, go ahead, Justin.
Scroll down real quick. I just want to make sure.
Yes,
About
sir.
to pick AI too.
Okay. Yep. I figured. All right. Bet. Next, Allen Iverson.
Y'all so fucking
The greatness of AI.
You gonna spin it in a positive light, dude?
Goddamn
We had
right.
him in the-
That's what
we
you're
had him in the
supposed to
same.
do.
We had him in the
That's
same
what it is.
spot.
These are
Goddamn
all
right. That's
great
what you're
players,
supposed to
though.
do.
But you gonna
That's my
spin it in a
issue.
The
positive light.
greatness
That's my
of
issue.
Allen Iverson. He created a line, a slogan, whatever it is you want to call it. Stephen A. said it. He was the one that originated. AI get you one. What does that mean? That means when you get to the finals, you gotta at least win one game. You can't get swept in the finals. Why? Because AI at least got one from this 15-1, 16-1
Look, you
juggernaut.
see his face, Justin?
the
That's what it
Lakers,
is.
right?
That's what it is. Right
He
there.
got that one from that situation, and that put him on icon status. Especially, he topped it off by walking over T. Lue, and T. Lue still talks about this today. So that is very disrespectful. Although it wasn't AI's fault, the man's leg was in the way. He was just trying to walk. But regardless of the fact, culture changer. He changed the entire culture of the NBA. We have to give him his love for that as well. We're not going to act like people wasn't rocking the braids and all this stuff. Everybody wanted to have a little piece of AI in their game some kind of way. So shout out to Allen Iverson, culture changer, did what he wanted to do, played by his own rules, and goddamn it, left it all on the court. He didn't matter. That was the other side. He played through damn near every injury. He was one of the smallest guys going up against the likes of the technically the last of the dominant power forward center era, because we went through the other two. Like, he was going toe to toe with all these giants and came out saying, I did it my way. Allen Iverson, properly placed with respect.
You got him in the spot.
That's your choice. I'll speak on him because he ain't getting talked about here from me. Next, I'll go with Kevin Garnett. Great player, no doubt about it. Those years in Minnesota, he was definitely an excellent representative for himself in the league. He struggled the year we had Latrell Sprewell, Sam Cassell. Everybody thought, they're going to make a run at it. It didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Went to the conference finals. That is the
they didn't win the title. They didn't win the title.
They
went
against
Wally
LA.
Zerbiak?
They made a run.
They made a run at it, but they didn't win the title.
The people that say it was going to make a run, they made the run.
I'm talking about a championship run.
You didn't say championship
run. When I say run, I mean to the championship. They didn't make the finals. Anyway, great player, no doubt about it. He had a super team, and they like the rest of them, living off that one title from 2008. So that's right. The theme of my list is just because you had one good year winning the championship, don't mean you get elevated into the top of the. Look, I'm putting the guys who don't have no title over him, and I live with that. I'm fine with it. But KG, to me, great player. Never disrespect him in any way. I think he's worthy of displacement. He was a great representative of the league. Again, I think they smell that hype too much, so it knocks down a few points on my accord. Just coming in right above him, and look. Again, once you make it this high up on my list, representing, and it's very important that I make it very clear how I look at my list. This is not just how great of a player with her. This is how do you represent the NBA Generation X players for the entire era, and that's all encompassing. Next for me, and look, some people might take this the wrong way, but it is what it is. I'm going with Dirk Nowitzki. They go back to back. I believe they belong right next to each other. Dirk was a phenomenal player. He got his ring. One of the best upsets in NBA history. What they did against that Miami Heat team, tremendous. No doubt about it. LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh all came together. Everybody thought it was a foregone conclusion. But nope, Dallas said, nope, not today. We're going to win this title. Again, just like KG, winning off. They got that one ring. They living off of it. They deserve to live off of it. No negative slant to this. Dirk, one of the most phenomenal big men this game has ever seen. His shot, one of the most unstoppable shots ever. No defense, but everything else was great about what he did on the court. I think I would take his game on the court, his offensive prowess a little bit more than KG, but I think they nipped tuck 1-2. So that's where I'm going with it. KG, Dirk deserve right next to each other on my list. Justin?
Next, Jason Kidd. Top 5 point guards of all time. What he did was, once again, shout out to Stephon Marbury. Clearly, wherever you go, you have a fellow light-skinned, lack of pigment brother coming behind you. They tend to have more success. When Jason Kidd went from Dallas to Phoenix, although he had a little stint with the blonde hair, I'm gonna look past that stint. He still made it to the playoffs. He then went to New Jersey, and then Jason Kidd, like the essence of Jason Kidd, showed itself back-to-back finals. You literally just ran into better teams. Although one would say if he was a little bit better offensively, you could have pulled maybe a couple more wins out. But I'm not. That's
young Richard Jefferson. That wasn't his fault.
Did they win a game out of the series?
No, they got swept.
They got swept by the Lakers too.
I think they might have beat the Spurs one.
Okay.
They got at least a game out of the Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. They made it. Okay, they was the best of the Eastern Conference 2 times in a row. So he owns that. That is him. He did run the show. And then later in Dallas, once he went back to Dallas, developed 3-point shot, and that helped propel Dirk Nowitzki to get his first championship. And same thing with Jason Kidd. That would be his first championship, first one and only. And even the greatness of that is when he went to New York. This is old Jason Kidd, but I always said that Melo was a better ball player when he had a true point guard on his team. Chauncey Billups, conference finals. We went to the second round with Jason Kidd, and then his J just left, him and J.R. Smith on top of that. But that's the type of person that Jason Kidd was. He makes others around him better. Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Okay. Calvin double pick.
Yeah, I got Garnett next. I went back and forth as to who to give more credit to for those Celtics runs. Initially, it was Pierce. Initially it was Garnett, then it was Pierce. Now it's kind of back to Garnett. And just feel like his sustained success from those Minnesota years, those early Boston years till he got injured in 2009. He was a great defender. One of the best defenders in the league. He won MVP early in his career, and I think he was the catalyst for that team winning 2008. He deserves more credit than Paul Pierce, so I have Garnett higher. Next, I got Jason Kidd. Like, I got him arguably top 4 point guard, and his old man game from Dallas on that just helped lead to that title run in 2011 and helped give Melo arguably one of his best years. You can say the Chauncey year. Or the Kidd year was Melo's best, but like you said, whenever Melo had a point guard, he was great. And that was one thing that I wish Melo had more of his career, was a pass first point guard to get him the ball in places to score. But when Jason Kidd was there, Melo was at his peak in New York, was hitting those shots late, getting the ball in position to score. Jason Kidd was always looking to get his scores in position to get buckets. And I think he was the best of his era to do that. And he got a title run. You can say what you want to say about him, about his coach as well, but he had a sustained career, arguably, like I said, top 3 point guard, and deserves his flowers. So I got Jason Kidd right here.
All right. Justin, what you got?
KG for me. I just hold the Minnesota series. The Minnesota version of him is one of the best to ever do it. To be his frame and to be as dominant as he was, I gotta give him some love for that. To be a defensive anchor for the Boston Celtics, and I agree with Calvin. He arguably should have been the Finals MVP. He the one that kind of put his foot down and changed everything for them, more so than Paul Pierce and Ray Allen combined, or damn near. So to me, it's all about KG. Which is what couldn't he do? His only detriment was he's a bit too passive to be a big guy. So you want more out of that. I would say that, but he didn't get a lot of help. When he actually got true talent, he went to the conference finals, and then that talent went away, and he had this. He was making it work with Troy Hudson. Yeah. Those that remember Troy Hudson, short dude, cornrows, AIS type of guy. He was making things work that shouldn't have been. Stephon Marbury, I think, really derailed this whole thing. If he knew now what if he could probably sub himself back in the day with a veteran mind, he would have made that work with KG. And I think KG would have won championships from that duo, with added pieces, obviously. But he went through a lot of seasons where it was just him. And he gave Tim Duncan all he wanted and gave Dirk all he wanted. So to be the third best power forward out that era, in a strong power forward era, he gets that.
You said he was the third best power forward?
Yes.
I agree with you. All right. For me, this comes down to very simple. I'm going to take the playmaker over the point guard. So I'm going Jason Kidd next on my list. Very, very impactful career overall. When you think of an NBA point guard that represents this era, I look at Jason Kidd, the longevity from what we saw. He was rookie of the year, wasn't he? Co-rookie of the year.
Co-rookie of the year.
Shout out to Grant Hill.
Him and Grant Hill split it.
Grant Hill.
But contrast their careers.
Probably should have been on here.
I'm summing out Gilbert and putting Grant Hill on that list. 15.
Grant Hill's career don't compare to Jason Kidd due to injury, of course. But
I didn't say not for Jason Kidd. I'm just talking about in general.
Okay.
Probably could have snuck him on here.
Okay, that's your choice. Yeah. Okay. Be real.
You already did that
twice.
Grant Hill got playoff wins because of
TP. Just
go back and look at it.
Go back and look at it.
Go get the person that you're saying. Jason Kidd was phenomenal. One of the quintessential point guards. One of the best point guards in NBA history. If you're going to do a top 10 list, point guards best to ever play, Jason Kidd's in the top half of that. No doubt about it. Like you say, he got Dirk his one title. He was a catalyst for that. Not that Dirk didn't do his part, but that puts him just a bit over because of the two finals appearances in New Jersey when he was the extra piece. Even though Richard Jefferson was young, he wasn't quite their way, where he would become later. But that's when Jason Kidd taught these guys how to play. He helped Vince Carter. He helped these guys get to that level. He look at what he did for Kenyon Martin, man. Just an excellent catalyst and a great leader of men. He deserves to be high on my list, but I can't put him over AI. AI, to me, if you really look at it, Philly is much like if he'd have played with some of the teams that we see some of these other players had, AI would have some rings, man. The guy was a scoring machine. The guy, you go back and look how many scoring titles he has. How many times he was one of the faces of the league during his time, where kids were looking up. He was changing what was considered to be what you consider a role model, quote unquote, of this. Oh, I want to play like AI. He brung the streaks back to where the game was palatable to just regular, because Mike was clean, polished, and Mike was showing, oh, you got to do it this way. And Kobe pretty much followed that same vein. Everybody felt like they need to wear suits and da. AI said, nah, that's not me. I'm this generation. This is what the tattoos, the braids, the everything. He just brought a swagger to the game that made it palatable to be yourself. And I think that counts for something. And his game backed it up. And you got to take into account the small frame that he had. What he played with, Dikembe Mutombo, Aaron McKee, Eric Snow. He had no big-time playmakers next to him. Come on, man. Went out there to Denver, played with Melo. Melo was still young. Didn't really get wasn't necessarily playing with some super team to give him an opportunity. Went to Detroit, did the best he could, but he was aging at that point. And again, years of his body taking the beating that it took, he was never going to be able to sustain himself for so long. But when he was the man, and when he was at the top of his game, he was a force to be reckoned with. And he would go in, just much like I say about Tony Parker. I respect the guard that goes into the paint, scores in there, and doesn't mind mixing it up with the big fellas. I just give AR all the credit. And if you look at this era and you say Gen X, and you talking your Kobe's, your Shaqs, and you don't come across Allen Iverson named pretty high on your list, you didn't live through it, or you just being obtuse of something. Because AI was one of the best players every night in and night out, and he came to work. I loved it. Practice, who cares about practice? He come to the game, and I'll never forget it. He deserves to be this high on my list. Justin, your turn.
I think you overrated him, to be honest with you.
That's your list. I'm just
saying.
I ain't overrated him.
You
are a Tracy McGrady fan.
That Denver squad was like, no, that Denver squad was ready.
The year he gets traded for Chauncey, they go to the conference finals the next year. Like,
that was my only thing with that the same joint.
Was he not doing his part? I mean,
it was the same exact team.
They brought him over to be more of a passer. He should never have went there.
Correct.
Oh, that's that his fault?
Change the game a little bit.
Look, the man was a scoring machine. When you met him, what you think you was getting? What you think you was getting? I mean, that's like saying. Anyway, go ahead. Your turn. You put him down on your list. Calvin got him in the bottom half.
He got him in the same spot.
Oh, y'all both do. Dang, y'all both suck. Allen Iverson is better than that. Go ahead.
Allen Iverson is not better than KG and Jesse Kidd.
Any day of the week.
Next is Dirk Nowitzki. Just showed you what it took to just phenomenal from the European perspective. Luka is clearly blazing his own path, but up until this point, the best European basketball player is Dirk Nowitzki. Yeah, I can say that European. I want to make sure I say that. The second best power forward. He was giving everybody that work. Couldn't nobody stay in front of him. Gave KG that work. Chris Webber, Poggers gave them all. Took names with it too. He was giving Tim Duncan that work a lot of years as well. You could say through some injuries, some untimely injuries, he had to suffer the L on that end.
Let's pause that for a second. Did he ever beat Tim in the playoffs? Just a question.
I think he did. I have to go back and check.
That was just a question. All right, go ahead.
I think he did. In that run that he went when he went to the finals, he did sweep OKC. He swept the defending champions, the LA Lakers. And then you got Miami, and this was supposed to have been their crowning achievement, all that stuff. And he won those games. He closed out every single victory they had, and that's impressive by far. I can keep going with Dirk, but Dirk is that spot.
Yeah, I got Dirk next as well. Arguably, at a point, 2-3 years ago, he was probably the best foreign-born player ever. I mean, you could say that's Jokic at this point. You maybe even Luka, depending on how you look at it. But there was a point in which he was the best foreign-born player, top scorer. You know, he had his own move that was unstoppable to a point that which is a statue.
I don't think
right
he was ever
outside of
better than
Dallas.
Hakeem Olajuwon, but go ahead.
He was a better scorer than Joe Olajuwon. I'll say that. I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll say he's the best scorer. More range,
Continue.
better offensive moves, but yeah. So that's why I put Dirk there. Like I said, he's top 5 scorer, or at one point was a top 5 scorer of all time. I think when you give weight to rings, you got to give that 2011 team that upset the Miami Heat. That is a top upset, and that ring carries a lot of weight. And it was in Dallas, and he spent his entire career there. So I got Dirk next. Dirk, I got
Here
Shaq.
we go. Who you got?
I got Shaq. Shaq, arguably the most dominant ever. I just Shaq, I think he should have more hardware. He should have more MVPs. He should have more rings, and he even admits that to himself. He should have more points. Should have more first-team All-NBAs. And I think when you're talking about the elite of the elite, that's something that can hold you back. It's just you not reaching your fullest potential each and every year. And he's had those conversations where he said, he took Kobe for granted, knew that he was going to be there, he was going to be in shape, so he can kind of not do those things at least initially. And I think that hurts you in the long run when you're talking about the elite of the elite. So when we're arguing over, who has more and who did more and whose prime was longer, I think that's something that just holds Shaq back. So I got him third on this list.
Okay. Justin?
I don't want to go. This is arguably the greatest top 3 out of all the generations, I think. I didn't necessarily really look into it, but when it comes to just being overall great, this is it. You have arguably the best center of all time. You have the best power forward of all time. And you have the second best 2 guard of all time. So that is very, very, very high statures in his own right. So we're picking straws here, and I'm gonna go with Tim Duncan.
I knew it.
Look, man.
Yo,
I
y'all some
I gave
Spurs
him all the love.
haters, man.
Why am I a Spur hater? What are you talking about?
No. You fine, but go ahead. This nigga go Tony Parker, not even on the list.
On the list.
And then go ahead. Finish it though.
No.
You having a hard time thinking through?
No. Oh, man, put Kobe there. I'm changing. Put Kobe there.
That's disrespectful.
What's disrespectful about that?
Disrespectful.
I think that's a valid choice.
The reason why, and this will set the other 2 apart, and I had to find something. I didn't know. Coming out the gate, it did take Kobe some years.
Thank you.
To be Kobe. Respectfully, I will say 100% that's Del Harris' fault. So I'm not even gonna put that on Kobe. But the other 2 made an impact as soon as they stepped foot on the court. And it just took Kobe just a little bit longer. They both had a great mid career, and as they got older, they both hit the wall. Clearly, that's just the natural arc of an NBA player, except for LeBron James. 81, we all know the scoring. We know everything. 5 championships, but to be the second best 2 guard, that's his thing, and he just started just a little bit slower than the other 2. That's Kobe Bryant. God rest his soul.
My thing is, I'm going with Shaquille O'Neal. Look, great, phenomenal player. I give him all the credit in the world, especially for those first 2 rings in LA. But I dock him some points for Orlando. Even though he did get there, he got swept by Houston. I thought Shaq, had he wanted to be in shape and work harder, he could have been greater. But for a stretch there, most dominant big man we've ever seen. I'm sure Wilt and all that back in the day was dominant, but just Shaq was just phenomenal. I'll take nothing from him. But again, number 2 for me, I go back to back. It's Kobe. And the problem with this is they played together. You know what I mean? Like they're going to hurt each other's stock because, when you win 3 championships the way they did, where Shaq was the captain of, I'll say, the first 2 titles, Kobe started to become more into his own on that 3rd. And then when they lose to Detroit the way they did, it takes some of that lure from that team, in my opinion. They lost to the Spurs another time. Another time, you seen Shaq go down to Miami, but he was second fiddle to D Wade. Kobe, the struggles that he had those years without Shaq, and the way he walked off the court early, blaming his team, talking about get me some help. The Phoenix series is always going to be a blemish on his record. They went out and get Pau Gasol. Great for them, retool. I'm never going to take nothing away from Kobe going out and winning those 2 rings without Shaq. No doubt that's what gives him the edge, in my opinion, to be a little bit ahead of Shaq. But Justin, you made a great point. Shaq was the catalyst for that team. Kobe had a chance to grow under Shaq, which is why people always put LeBron over Kobe, unless a lot of people do, because Kobe was never – he came into the league and was able to maturate into a team where you had one of the most dominant players being 1A. And another thing, this is why it even hurts me with the Iverson thing, because had Iverson had a Shaq, had Iverson, he was the number 1 option from day 1 in Philly. You know what I mean? He was the guy. So he never had that opportunity like Kobe had.
You can
that
make that,
always set him across.
You can have that, make that same comment about McGrady though. As much crap as I give him, you can make that same. You can say the same thing about Vince. Kobe had a Shaq, they didn't.
But Iverson's game was different to me. Vince never put the performances on I saw Iverson have. Vince never carried his team to the NBA Finals and get a game off for the Lakers.
But to Kevin's point, everyone, especially in the early years, was saying because it took Kobe that long to get to that point, they were saying Mac and Vince were were more well-rounded as a ball player. They were subbing in him. Like, yo, just put him on that team. They win too. So you're right. Your overall is right. I'm not knocking what you're saying. It's just AI. If you could score, you could win with Shaq.
Agreed. So does that not hurt both of their cases in some ways?
That's why I have to put them 3 for me.
But for me, I'm looking at who represents the era. I'm not saying who's a better player. I'm saying who represents Generation X. And while Shaq is great, Shaq came into the league in 92. So I do think his stretch of time was different than Kobe. Kobe didn't come till later, and he didn't really become the Kobe we know him as until later in his career. So I can look more towards when Kobe was by himself and give him more credit for the era. The Black Mamba didn't come till later. That didn't come until he was a standalone guy. Kobe, all the Kobe mentality and all that stuff that we think of him is, that didn't come until he was more as a seasoned veteran. So again, I think Shaq's ending hurt the perception of his career in some ways because he was lazy, because he jumped from team to team to team to team to team to team. Look how many teams Shaq was on towards the end. That just gives Kobe the edge, in my opinion. And the guy I have number 1 doesn't have those blemishes. I'm going, who I'm going with. I'll save that for last. Go ahead, Justin.
Clearly, we know who it is. Number 2 for me is now Tim Duncan. 1, because he would just not be number 1. That's just period. But two, I'm not going to be negative. I'm gonna come positive. Cornerstone of a franchise, won it in the beginning of his career, won it towards the end of his career. The fact that he made the All NBA team as a rookie, greatness personified within Tim Duncan. I wish he would have just did it without Greg Popovich one time. It's kind of the Tom Brady thing.
How many titles Kobe win without Phil?
None.
Okay.
None. But this is him. Because I just saw Phil did it twice. I saw Phil do it with Chicago. I saw him do it with LA. So he proved himself. What I know it's Mike, right? I get it. But hey, Doug Collins ain't win with Mike, so I'll say that as well. But that's next week. But yes, but I'm not knocking. Like I said, it's just I would like to have seen that just to see like who was who. But I mean, it's Tim Duncan, man, the greatest power forward of all time.
Okay. Calvin double pick.
This is interesting because we got the same top three in a completely different order, which is interesting. I got Duncan too, and I'm not like greatest, like you said, greatest power forward ever. 5-time champ. I think he's 15-time. I think him and Kobe are 15-time All NBA. I think he's the same amount all defense as well. All rookie, All NBA rookie. You can't three-time final MVP. You can't say enough about Tim Duncan.
He missed that layup.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to be negative when it's like coming to these top 3 or 4. I'm just going to give the positives. The only thing that I have Kobe 1, obviously. So I think the only thing that separates 1 and 2 for me is kind of what you guys said, but I just have a different spin on it. Tim got the early start. He played as a rookie. He was like we talked about his accolades, and Kobe sat on the bench that first year or two, or the first year specifically. In the second year, I think he made the All-Star team coming off the bench. But Kobe's career kind of caught up with Tim, and Tim had the head start by playing that first year and being the starter from the jump. And I think if it's even and you did the same amount over a smaller period of time, then I give you the edge. And that's kind of why I'm putting Kobe over Tim, just for that reason. And it's not I have to nitpick at something because they're two great players. They're two generational players. They're two elite of the elite. There's not enough positive that we can say about both. But that's just how one of the reasons I chose to pick Kobe over Tim. And that's just how I decided it. But those are my 1 and 2.
Justin?
Out this list, it's only one person that had 3 straight Finals MVPs. There was only one person that 3-peat, mainly by winning the Finals MVPs since Jordan. It's only one person that you literally had to have extra people on your team just to have fouls. We have never seen a dominant force since Wilt, and that was 60s and 70s. So 20 plus years, 30 plus years of just people playing basketball, and then this behemoth of a man graced himself upon the basketball court and just dominated out the gate. As soon as the word said go, I'm going to put everybody on my back and watch me dominate. If Nick Anderson doesn't show up as small as he did in clutch moments, he might have won something in Orlando. If
he wasn't winning that year,
I'm just saying, it's a part of it. We know that LA was the Diesel, Superman, all this other stuff. He was the only person that if I call you Superman, I'm not even going to think twice about it. And that's just like what arguably the greatest superhero of all time. That means something. His dominance means something. Yes, I can say that Kobe was great. Yes, I can say Tim Duncan was great. My problem with Tim Duncan, and I had to save this. Although he has 5, I can say that he's not one of the greatest big men of all time. He's not the most dominant big of all time. That's Shaq. I remember when they went head to head, and when they matched up with each other, it was clear that one person was that much more talented than the other person. And unfortunately, Tim Duncan had to eat a lot of that.
Talent.
Talented.
I don't like that word talented. If you want to say dominant, I would have agreed. But you
he
said
was fatter than him. Let's call it what it is.
Whatever you want to call it. Okay. One person was clearly better than the other person.
No, he wasn't.
I don't think
when they matched up one-on-one, it was obvious.
But
one person needed.
But I mean, help. How many? Oh, you're talking about one-on-one. You're talking about one-on-one. I'm going to say how many series did they win? Because I can only remember the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers beat them two straight years.
We are nitpicking because everything else is team ball.
I agree.
When I saw Tim Duncan go against Shaquille O'Neal, one was clearly better than the other person.
No, it wasn't. That's just simply not true.
That is true. Look at the film. The film speaks for itself.
Where do you have Shaq rated in your all-time centers? Just curious.
He must be number 1.
It ain't got to be specific. Like you can say top 4 or something. I don't care.
Oh, he's definitely top 3.
Okay,
it's easy.
Finish your synopsis.
So there's nothing else to be. There's nothing else to be said. It's just I never seen a force like that in my life. And Kenyon Martin recently just posted a picture. He was on Gil's Arena, and it was just a refresher when he dunked on the entire New Jersey Nets squad, their starting 5. That's just nothing you can do with that, man. And in my book, in my period, what I'm looking at, if I can't stop you and I need help, I need guys just to come in to get fouls. Man, what we talking about here, man? It's easy to me.
Yeah, but that never happened against the Spurs. Like, that never happened.
He destroyed Tim Duncan and David Robinson. They got their licks in too. I'm not knocking that. But he destroyed both of them dudes. He did.
Fat Shaq was a man. I'll give him credit. But we're gonna put a guy
there. You can end with Tim Duncan.
Okay. Anyway, number 1 on my list.
Yeah, Robert Horry said that it's not compared to Hakeem Olajuwon. But go ahead. He's number 1 on your list.
Number 1 on my list, the greatest. You don't say this about Shaq. You say this about Tim Duncan.
Because he didn't want to be labeled as a
power
big center
forward of all time. It is what it is.
He spent more time at center than power forward.
It is what it is.
But I get it.
The greatest power forward of all time.
Arguably
Rookie of the year.
That's big.
From day 1. Rookie of the year. 3 times. Finals MVP. 2 times. Regular season MVP. All NBA 15 times. Phenomenal talent. Nothing more I need to say. Look, the guy was great. He's in all of our top 3. So, of course, we all know he's great. Nobody's going to disrespect him and say he wasn't. But the difference I'll say with Tim is he didn't just do it offensively. He did it defensively. Shaq was never a great defender. Shaq was never
defender in the finals.
Against who?
Against anybody that was stepped against him.
Against who? Tell me who this person you need to have great
didn't
defense.
Play anybody.
What are we talking about? Anyway, 5-time championship champion and didn't need to go back to back to get the 5 titles. So I give the Lakers credit for that 3-year run of dominance. Phenomenal. No doubt about it. But Tim won in 99, 02, excuse me, 03, 05, 7. And that showed that it wasn't just a fluke. He did it again, lost, came back, did it again, come back, do it again, retool, get another young Kawhi Leonard, get other players, and guess what? Tim was still the leader of those teams. Now, Tony, I made the case, Tony, earlier, became a better scorer as time went along. But ain't no doubt about who was the anchor and who led that defense. Tim was the man. He is, to me, the most humble superstar. He's not looking for no whole bunch of fanfare, not looking for no whole lot of accolades. And again, he's not the sexy choice. But if you just watch pure basketball, which I'm a Spurs fan, so clearly I have to appreciate the purity of the game. It's no better. There's no one better.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You finish.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say one thing that I did mention that does bother me, and this is probably nitpicking as well. He, in my opinion, and this is just thinking off the top of my head and just thinking about this, they lost as the favorite too much, in my opinion, as well.
Because even to injury.
I could think about when 0-1, that was the last Lakers championship they lost in the second round. They lose to the Clippers in the first round that the year that Chris Paul hits the shots. That 08, 09. I mean, that's just later in Tim's career as well. They lose to Oklahoma City. Like, they have a lot of losses in which they were the favorite.
Think about that. I got 5 rings and I lost some other ones.
No. But it's not a loss in the conference finals.
I tell you how damn great they were.
But it's not a loss in the conference finals or the finals. It's a loss in the first and second round. And that's something that just I just thought about as well.
So you're just making the point that this was the team of the decade but they came up short at some point when they should have been even better.
We're nitpicking at this point.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing. It used to piss me off when we didn't go back to back, but then we would come back and rectify the issue. That Detroit, just so fun. Anyway, look, we can the Miami loss. Come on,
I do like the fact that we had a top 3 and we all had different top 3, which I didn't expect. That was different. I
mean, if you think of the era, if you don't have Shaq, Tim Duncan, and Kobe at the top, did you watch the league? The Spurs and the Lakers were basically in the title game every year.
They were.
What did they say?
They were the generation.
It was what a 15-year period where it was either Kobe, Shaq, or Tim Duncan in the finals, something like that.
Yeah, because even the year like Shaq went to Miami,
it was from
he represented
99 to 20, like 2010 or something like that.
Because I want to say, because we went. What was that? Dallas.
Well, no, it was accepted. Except the.
Oh wait, that was y'all. Boston.
Yeah, I take that back.
Boston, LA. Yeah.
From 98 to 2010.
Yeah. And then 2011.
It was Oklahoma City.
Was that Oklahoma City?
I'm sorry, that was Dallas.
That was Dallas and Miami.
Yeah. So maybe it was Dirk, Shaq, and Kobe. Maybe that's what it was.
Dirk
it's some
was
combination
in there, but he just didn't win enough.
Yeah, I'm saying it's some combination of Kobe. Is he with Kobe, Shaq, or the Shaq, Tim, and Dirk? Some combination like where they all made the finals for like 12.
Dirk only went to 1 finals.
He went to 2.
He went to 2.
What was the second?
06.
The second.
The first time they lost. Yeah.
It's some combination. I forgot what it was, but it's some weird. And maybe even LeBron's in it, but I think that made it awkward.
Well, LeBron went to 13 straight later, but that was later.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, that was a good one. Gen X always was going to be interesting because that was kind of like our high school,
it's a
college. Yeah. So, But next week, and then look, this took a long time. It's 11 o'clock, guys, and we have so many more topics we wanted to touch on tonight. But I'm going to ask the fellas, do y'all want to keep going or what we want to do? What we want to do?
We talked about NCAA, but we could push them off. I like this topic. I like how we go into our different. And next week gonna be interesting. We all gonna have the same top pick, but we going how we just.
Are we going to have the same top pick? I'm just asking because some of y'all crazy. Some of y'all be all over the place. But baby boomers should be kind of. That's going to be a significant drop off in the discussion because some of these guys would not measure up with some of them Gen X guys. And I can say that. If you put some of them guys from Gen X and the millennials in the baby boomer era, we're going to do that discussion one day too. We're going to do it a mix.
The majority of them would dominate. What are you talking about?
No, we need to just do like the millennials, Gen X, that row in the middle, those 15 in the middle, and just rate those 15. Just go from there.
Okay.
'Cause that's the best 5 of each generation. Let's just go from there. Just rate those 15. I mean, not
Now,
next week, but I'm just saying.
is it the best 5 in each generation? Some of y'all didn't have AI that high.
I'd put Dirk instead of AI.
That's what you had.
But
Yeah, we just did it.
I
I'm sorry.
mean,
Just saying.
Yo,
we
stand there
just
like-
literally
like,
just
hey,
did it.
just in case, like we just didn't do a list. I'll probably you just did it.
Literally is sitting right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd was in your top 5. If you really want to be honest, go ahead, look at it. It's right there on the
I
screen.
mean, I had Dirk in there too, so okay.
Yes, he got Dirk and Jason Kidd before some of the guys on the middle. That's why I'm saying if we go off the middle, that ain't gonna add up to what that graphics say right there, according to what you have. So anyway, we'll get to that.
Hey, none of us had gone that top 5, so that don't even matter.
Anyway, very interesting, should be fun. Before we get out of here, really quickly, because I know it's pretty late. Last week's Western Conference Player of the Week, Kevin Durant, pushing that Phoenix Suns team 3-0 last week, averaging 27 points a game. Kobe White, 2 weeks in a row.
I was gonna say back-to-back weeks.
2 weeks in a row,
Yeah.
big wins, averaging
Back-to-back
30.
weeks.
The man's coming on strong. And
He
if
had
you
a
look
tough
at the
week, too.
NBA standings right now for the Eastern Conference, the Bulls making a push for that play-in. They are actually 6-2 in their last 10 games. 8-2 in their last 10 games. Give them credit. Fighting here hard. A lot of games, some momentum. They've been 3-game winning streak. Chicago Bulls coming on strong, trying to get one of those last playoff spots. If you look at, I like to look at the 10 games. Boston 9-1 in the last 10 games. The Pacers 7-3. While you look at the Cavaliers have been kind of streaking, had a bad week last week, sliding a little bit, lost a few in a row. They got to win the other night to break that 3-game losing streak. But yeah, 6-10 out of their last. Look at the Knicks, 4-6 out of their last 10 games. But they got a big win the other night. Did they win tonight?
Who?
The Knicks. Sure. Yeah. So yeah, if you look at some of these teams and how they slide, and the Miami Heat, I think they were beating Golden State last time I looked. But 1-9, okay, big win for the Knicks tonight.
The Heat won by damn near 30.
The Heat blew out Jimmy Butler in his return to Miami, so that's a big one. The Bucks got some bad news about Dame Lillard.
Crippling news.
Yeah, really bad news. So that's sad for them. The Thunder still rolling, winning 6 in a row. The Rockets finally lost a game. They were on a hot streak here lately. Then you got the Lakers losing 3 in a row. LeBron came back. They lost to the Chicago Bulls, and then they also lost to Orlando Magic on last night. So that team's not looking great right now. They need to turn things around. Just touching on these things before we get out of here. Calvin, anything you've been watching for in the NBA lately?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get close to the playoff time. Just seeing this playoff seeding get solidified. I think we got our 10 in the East and the West. Well, actually, no, not in the West, because I think the Phoenix is still trying to solidify that spot in the play-in. But it'll be interesting that 2 through 5 matchup in the West because they're so tight. No one's going to catch Oklahoma City. They only have the games remaining to catch them. But can the Warriors, stay out of the play-in? They're just a game up on the Clippers, who have been playing well as well. They went 8-2 over the last 10. Kawhi's been playing consistently. James Harden had a couple back-to-back 30-point performances as well. So their team is getting hot as well, and the team need to watch. But I don't know if things can hang in there. We talk about, will Dallas try to play to get to that last spot? But knowing that Anthony Davis came back 2 nights ago, he missed tonight's game. But I just can Phoenix hang on? Can Phoenix hang on? What's going to happen with that 2 through 4 spot? And now in the East with no Dame for the foreseeable future, it's that 3 seed. It becomes interesting because now that 1 seed becomes interesting because now we don't have to worry about possibly playing Milwaukee in the second round. So you can kind of get that bye and only face New York or Boston instead of facing both of them.
Yeah, Justin, what you looking at? Mm-hmm.
So for the East, I think Milwaukee is going to drop. They're not going to drop to 7, but they're going to definitely drop until 6. I think Detroit's going to jump them. And
I won't play in the first round.
Yeah, I'm not. It's easy now. Shout out to Giannis. Giannis is a monster. I'm not knocking anything away from Giannis. It's just
If Kuzma is your second option, you're in trouble.
you in trouble, man. They need Dame, and Dame got a blood clot in his lower leg. So
Yeah.
that could be career ending. Like we don't know yet. So it's definitely shaky at best. I don't know when we're going to see Dame again. I can say that at least for the foreseeable future. We talking about next season. So yeah, that might just be a blow to Milwaukee as a whole. So they might be just dead in the water. And Giannis going to give you everything he got, but we're not really worried about nobody else on that team. So it is what it is when it comes to that. So I will actually prefer to play the Milwaukee now too. So I do hope they drop to 6. But the Western Conference is interesting because I still think Phoenix might be the odd man out. Because we got the play-in tournament. We got Clippers, Timberwolves. They might play each other. Let's say Clippers win that. Okay, they got the 7th seed. They got that lock. You got Minnesota going against Phoenix. They clearly probably got the last season on their mind when they swept them. So Phoenix might be the odd man out. But I think all these L's, it's teams losing and they shouldn't be losing. This is playoff positioning, and it starts now. You got people that's quote unquote hurt with different type of injuries. I think LeBron probably could have came back 3 to 4 games before he did.
You see how he was sprinting up and down that court? That man was
as
fine.
soon as he came back, right? I think Jalen Brunson is okay, guys. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think he's fine. They just said, look, we good, especially with this news. We just got to hold off for the 4th seed because I don't want to play. I don't want to drop there, but. Jalen Brunson, take some time off. Like players are adjusting themselves. I just saw Denver just had Jokic and Murray both sitting out games and stuff.
Multiple games, yeah.
They are resting and adjusting and jockeying for position in the playoffs, and that's what's interesting to me right now.
Would you rather, as a Knicks fan, you would rather play Boston in the second round than play Cleveland?
Yes. Give me Boston while we still have energy.
Yeah, okay.
Careful what you wish for.
No, I hear you. I hear you. But I'm thinking the alternative, if we don't sweep these whoever the first and second round teams are, and we have 6-7 game series, we're going to be limping into Boston just like we would have last year, and Boston would have smashed us last year. Even if Jalen Brunson didn't get hurt in that last game, they would have smashed us.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust. I don't know if I'm trusting Cleveland in the playoffs.
I'd rather if they make it to the conference finals, I'd rather see Cleveland in the conference finals, no doubt.
Okay. It'll be interesting. We'll keep an eye on it, but they have been sliding a little bit, so they appear to be human. We don't know if they're taking their foot off the gas because they do have
transition. By the way, good. Continue.
Yeah, because they kind of have they have a little cushion, so. Maybe they just decided to pull back a little bit. I don't know, but we'll see how that turns out. Before we get out of here, Calvin, Bronny James, looking good. What's happening?
I mean, look, he had a good game against Milwaukee. They lost by 30. Like, can we let's keep it? Let's put it in perspective. He had a good game. He got a lot of time, but they lost by 30.
Stature, he had a great.
He
game.
needed that confidence.
Correct. But I'm. The more positive note, in my opinion, was the G League he had yesterday, where he had 37, but he shot 67% from the field, and he got a lot of looks at the rim, hit a couple late threes, couple step back threes. He's getting that confidence back in the shot, and if you can tell me consistently in the G League, he's going past everybody. I'm not saying he's a starter in the NBA, but he's definitely deserves playing time. If you're just if you're shooting 67% consistently in the G League, you deserve a shot at the league. That's all I'm saying. And I think you can see the work that he's putting in. You can see him getting better throughout the year, and that's what you want to see from a young player. So you gotta give him some props for that.
That's all you want.
So real quick, my 2 points on this. Real quick, this is the problem with LeBron James, and I say that to say, had Bronny went straight to the G League from jump and not have that orchestrated. Have Ken Griffey and his father there, not have that moment. I get it for LeBron James. He needed it because he doesn't even know if he could play at any given time. Any injury could be his last injury. I understand that, but the games that Bronny is collecting in the G League, just like Calvin said, that was probably his greatest moment so far. Now he deserves a call up to the league. Now he deserves that say, yo, you've been dominating, come to the league. That would have happened organically to the point where now you have Bronny coming up and now you have LeBron James playing. Now they can have that moment. That's a whole different stratosphere of being special because it happened in real time versus being orchestrated and planned. I didn't like that per se.
I didn't mind it. Nepotism is real. Let's go. Before we get out of here, Doc Rivers had some comments the other day that I found interesting. You know, I am the resident Doc Rivers hater. I can't stand him. I can't stand anybody.
You don't hate him more than I do.
Yes, I do. Have been. And he said these things. One of the things that I'm proud of is we've never been swept. All the coaches have been swept in the playoffs. My teams achieve. A lot of them overachieve, and I'm very proud of that. Calvin, thoughts?
He don't believe that himself. I don't know. Maybe
I think he does 100%.
Yeah,
Doc don't believe that. Why did you wait this long to defend yourself? It doesn't make any sense.
Because he's a loser.
You take the loss for those 3-1. You had one good playoff run. One good run. When you had more talent in LA, you did nothing. You choked.
No, he went to the championship.
No, he had a good run.
He went to what?
He went
played
to championship
back to back.
He went to what more than once?
Championship.
Championship what?
Didn't y'all lose? Didn't the LA beat
him in Game 7?
The Clippers?
No,
the Lakers.
No. Okay, I was talking about
winning.
I was talking about with the Clippers. Okay.
No. I'm saying you said he had one run. I mean, he had a run. They got to the finals.
He had one run. He had an extended run. They won one. They lost one. They didn't do anything without KG. That's what I was trying to.
You mean the whole totality of the time?
But he can't believe that. I don't know why he's trying to defend himself, and he's put himself in position to coach phenomenal players. You just had Joel Embiid and James Harden. Before that, you had Kawhi and PG. You had CP3 and Blake. You haven't had a bad team since Orlando, but you're hanging on to.
Now you got Giannis and Dame.
Now you believe, and you can't believe this. You can't believe this. I don't know. You can't believe
this. Good point, Justin.
It is the epitome of being a loser. That's not the goal. That's never the goal. I'm quite sure people on his team will say the same exact thing as what I'm echoing right now. And when I say that I have a personal attachment to this, I was on the Orlando team. I was. I was, man. You couldn't find a big Orlando fan in this side of the
jerseys were fire.
You made it sound like you
was on there.
Yeah, man, I was there, man. So I remember every part of that series. I remember the same thing happened in that series. It's the same thing that happens in every other Doc Rivers series. He cannot make adjustments. He is one of the worst at making adjustments. They brought in Tayshaun Prince and they started to feature Tayshaun Prince. That was their adjustment. And we did not adjust to that whatsoever. It was we were done. And I can see the same exact thing happen in every other series since then. KG, shout out to KG. He was the one to make series adjustments when it came to that. He was making defensive adjustments. He the one that says, okay, maybe we should do this on offense and so on and so forth. He was running that show, not Doc. Milwaukee, they're about to suffer the same exact thing. Now, Dame got out, and that's going to be his excuse. Hey, man, I lost Dame. So he's always got some type of – when he had Chris Paul, that was a year-long annual excuse because eventually Chris Paul was going to get hurt. But when it comes to just him making adjustments, he can't. He sucks.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I'm not going to pile on tonight, Doc, because we're running short on time. But I did want to talk Orioles, but we'll say that. We can't. Next week's opening week.
Opening day is
y'all happy? Everything good? Everything good? Orioles fans, I'll be at the yard next Wednesday night for opening night. I won't be there opening day on Monday, but I'll be at the yard opening night next Wednesday night.
They're off Tuesday.
Yeah, they're off Tuesday. It's April 1st. So April 2nd, if you want to join me, Come on down, grab your ticket. Their tickets on sale for like $20, $23. Come on down, let's have a good time at my first time at an Orioles game since 2017 when I was a season ticket holder for 3 years, man. I'm excited. I'm giving up my strike. I'm back this time. I know I said this last year, but I mean it this time for real. I will be at the yard next Wednesday night, and I'm excited. Who's starting pitcher? Who's leading us off, Calvin?
Zach Eflin's pitching Thursday because Grayson's on the. Well, I guess if Grayson was healthy, it'd probably still be Zach Eflin. But yeah, Zach Eflin going Thursday. Going Thursday in Toronto.
Justin, who's the best bat we got this year coming in? Who's going to start up the season hot?
Tyler O'Neill.
Ryan Mountcastle's going to have a resurgence this year.
Okay,
because he's starting in Toronto.
So he said to start it off.
I'll keep eye on that.
Watch the 2 home runs.
And we were going to do a long segment on this, but let's just wrap this up real clearly. Been a big beef between Deion Sanders and Asante Samuels. Deion responded, which he normally doesn't. Asante basically said he was the greatest corner of all time. And he talked about the technique, and which is why, because if you know what I mean about the T-step, you know how you come off the brakes, and you know how it's quicker to defend a guy. Where some people saying, you know, Deion, of course, back then you could bump and run, you could do more techniques from a cornerback perspective. Whereas Asante was more of a coverage guy, more zone. He had more help with safeties and things of that nature. Wasn't really physical like Deion didn't. Deion never really had safety help like that. He'd play you straight up and recover. What was your thoughts on everything that's been said back and forth? Shannon took up for Prime saying he was the greatest, and Asante not even in his league. Everything, the stats have been getting thrown around. Asante Samuels came out today with another video, went at Shannon and kind of defended himself. Justin, your thoughts on everything that we've seen? Golly, this has been funny.
Listen, man. When Shannon said, even your son don't think that you better, that you better than Prime, and you the junior, I said, oh!
That was a bar. That was a bar.
It's over. What Ben said?
That was a bar.
It's over. See, the problem is, in order to say this correctly, we're going to have to hate on.
Exactly.
Not even hate. We have to be critical of Asante. Asante is a great cornerback. Period.
System.
But he is not a tight. I heard the system. He's not a top 10. He's not a top 10 cornerback. Another person that was in a similar system is better than him, and that is Ty Law. So if you're not better than the person that was before you, then what we talking about here? Like, and you know what, Chad Ocho, he pissed me all the way off. I don't know I hope he hears this clip. He just did not want to hold Asante critical whatsoever. He didn't want to hold him accountable whatsoever. He completely skated around, and he was the person that went up against him. He was the person that went up against a Revis, Champ Bailey.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys in
great
that era, Patrick Peterson, all that. He went up against a lot of these cats and didn't say a word. I have issues with that, man.
What you think, Calvin?
You see these stats in front of you. It doesn't warrant a conversation. Once you went at Prime, it did not warrant a conversation. The back and forth is only keeping one side relevant. Now, on the other hand, I was hoping that Asante Samuel Jr. came to the Ravens. So I'm not going to be too critical yet until he makes a free agent decision. But after that, it's Prime, and it's only Prime, and anybody else is just
don't let that stat fool you. It's the bottom, the awards and honors that should be flipped, right? So Deion is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Deion has the 8 Pro Bowls. Deion has the 8 All Pro.
Oh yeah.
The defensive player of the year.
It's 2 different graphics.
Don't think that's for Asante, and we're just hyping up Deion.
I mean, if you know the game, you know that has nothing to do with it. But I love when Shannon went at him and was like, he said, "Look, man, this is not a knock on you as a player. You are a great player. You're phenomenal. Why are you taking this the wrong way? You're great. but you ain't prime. Like, it's just the bottom line. Like, then he started going hard. You ain't Champ Bailey. You ain't.
You're not.
Simple.
You're not.
You ain't Rod Woodson. You ain't the other Woodson. Charles Woodson. You ain't.
And if he don't get into the Hall of Fame, he not better than Rondé Barber as a cover corner.
But like you say, he played. He said when Santi said you
to
got to
get in
add
there.
in my playoff stats, but you also got to take into account you played in the era where they passed the ball more than any era in the history of football. Of
played
course,
with
you
Bill
want to get more
Belichick.
opportunities in the Patriots system at that too, where you couldn't run the ball. You know what I mean? Of course, they was passing the ball on y'all. And then here's another thing that Dion was playing in the era where they ran the ball a lot. He still put up those numbers. And did you ever win a defensive player of the year, Asante Samuels? No. Again, just foolish. Anyway, speaks to his immaturity. We got a lot more show that we could have got into tonight, but it's almost 11:30, folks. We think, and we didn't even talk wrestling because John Cena Hill is just pissing me off. I think it's boring. I'm over it. I want to move on with life. I knew this was going to be a failure, but we'll talk about it next week. WrestleMania is vastly.
Can he talk directly to Cody Rhodes, or does he have to, just stand there every time Cody starts talking? I hate
that monotone voice, man.
Trying to protect Cody.
Terrible.
I understand.
It's terrible.
Protect Cody, and you're enjoying this. I know you're enjoying this, Justin.
Me?
Yeah.
It's terrible, man.
I think it's look. This is my last week of it. I'll say that.
It's boring.
I don't want another 5-minute segment of
he
him
ain't
talking
coming
to
back.
the fans.
He's not gonna be. He's not appearing on the show to WrestleMania, though, right?
I think you got one more date next week, 31st, right?
No, they should have fought at least once or twice.
They should have fought. They won. Like that last time we saw you, you was getting whipped with a belt, black eye. Like, and then you come out there and want
the man gave you a black eye. You didn't do anything.
Come on, dog. Anyway, we'll talk about that more next week. We appreciate y'all joining us tonight. Hell of a show. I thought the list was fun. We appreciate you. And give us your opinions. Who do you agree with? What was your list? We want to cut this up. I'm going to take some time this week. Cut this.
Tell me why I had Tracy Brady too high. Thank you.
Look, I don't disrespect Tracy McGrady in what Calvin does. I just think all of these people are to be celebrated. We're talking about the 15 best players of the entire era. Think about that.
Y'all take the truth as
5 people play on a team. I mean, starting 5. Go ahead.
The truth was disrespectful. He shouldn't have been on the list at all.
Truth.
That's Paul Pierce.
Thanks for joining us tonight. For Calvin, Justin, I'm Larry. We'll see y'all next week.
Time is up. My time is now.
Get off the damn fence. I'll let y'all.